Congratulations on making it through 2018, and here's to a productive and successful 2019. As Greg mentioned, the dev team has largely been on holiday for Christmas and for New Year's. We did have a stand-up last week with some of the team. Some of the team has been working, but we reconvened for our stand-up today with most of the team back, and we're getting back into the thick of things. So one of the things I noticed as I was putting together this update is also kind of getting back in the swing of things myself and making sure that I'm familiar with where we left off and where we are. So forgive me if I repeat something that I said several weeks ago, and bear with me as I kind of stumble around and make sure that we're on the same page based on our stand-up today. I also want to call out that we will be resuming community tests starting next Tuesday on January 8th. So if you are a regular there, I look forward to seeing you again at 1500 UTC. If you are new and interested in getting started with our node, we'd very much like to have you too. This is an all-comers event, very hands-on and very supportive, and would love to help you get started with our node if you're interested. We are kind of in this between time. Our last sprint ended on Christmas Eve. Of course, we did not start a new sprint over the holidays, so we will formally start our next sprint next Monday. That's January 7th. We do run in 2-week sprints, and we are now in the cadence of releasing every 2 weeks whatever is complete in that sprint. So in addition to starting a new sprint next week on the 7th, we will also be planning to release our node 8.2 the week of January 7th. And you can see the release plan and what we're thinking so far will be in that release. And we'll be updating that release plan as we confirm more about what will be in there. Also, over the holiday, we took some time to reevaluate how we're using Jira. When we first started using Jira, we broke it out into separate projects. So we had the core project, the rolling project, and the ops projects. And now that the team this is a huge project, by the way. You know, when we look at integration tests and all the things that work together, it's a really big project. And we're also starting to have the team work more collaboratively and across what were these formalized teams as we started out. And using Jira in this kind of segmented 3-part system was no longer working for our team. So we migrated over the holiday break into one project. It's now called RChain. But do not fret if you had a favorite Jira issue that you loved, like core 1162, and you're looking for it, you can still type in 1162 and it will point you now to the new project. And you'll notice that it has a new issue number. So we'll kind of in that in-between space as we continue to adopt these new numbers, but everything is there, everything migrated successfully, and you'll just see everything now point to an RChain project in Jira going forward. We are continuing to work on the Mercury requirements and acceptance criteria. What that means is the team is taking those user stories that are in the features document and the GitHub, and they are breaking them out and specifying them in terms of steps and tests. Also, they're realizing where there are open questions. And so you will see work continuing into next sprint, either to build out tests and acceptance criteria for user stories that are complete, or work to complete stories where there are open questions, and then of course to prioritize feature work where we have clarity on what's needed and to move forward with that feature work. We are working with Whiteblock. The team is implementing a test plan that our SRE team provided them with, and validating that their documentation is accurate. You can see there's a link to the test plan here in this update document. You're welcome to go take a look and see kind of what Whiteblock's capabilities are in this space. We're really excited about it. We will be meeting with them later this week just to make sure that the documentation is all up and running and the test plan is doing what they expect it to do, and we will then be able to move forward internally doing internal tests on what looks like a testnet in a box, for lack of a better word. Regarding Testnet, there is not currently a public testnet available. You can see the issues that are currently blocking it. Luckily, that list is getting shorter and shorter week on week, and so we're glad to report on that. We do this is our absolute #1 priority right now, is making sure that we can get to a place where we can launch a public testnet that would allow not only block propagation, but also for people to bond as validators and participate on the testnet. Rolling team is working, continuing that work on this huge effort to deliver a block store. We're a little blocked right now on resolving some issues related to integration testing. Daniel is working with the team on that. And then we are also working to improve messaging for rolling tests, which will make it more helpful for debugging. That's been a blocker in some cases in terms of being able to debug things that we're seeing in testnet. our private testnet. Casper work is, the work is completed to remove deploys from finalized blocks. This is going to help support resolving that out of memory error that we saw some nodes having. We've also resolved a hang on propose, and this happened by making a change in the runtime manager. And then we have started a conversation, and it's a very public conversation. Kent shared it in the public channels last week in Discord about validator incentives in Casper and how to implement that along with cost accounting to support our Mercury requirement work. This is a really interesting document. There are a lot of things in there that would impact validators. If you are a likely validator or if you're interested in validation, please do take a look at this. All comments and questions are welcome. We will be discussing this more as a team in the coming days. The node is completing work for the Stream API. That last PR is in. There's also a PR in a review to stop receiving stream blobs if they don't fit. This will help support some nodes from crashing. And then we are making some updates to our DAG graphing tool. This has been a very helpful tool for us to visualize the DAG and understand what's happening when blocks are finalized and or merged. The storage team is largely focused on stability work at this point. Their next feature work would be peak, but we're not ready to start that as they're largely supporting Kent and team on debugging and writing tests for changes as they're happening at Casper. And of course, the SRE team, their priority is also stability and testing. They are working closely with Whiteblock. They are also working on tests and documentations to help end users outside of the development team capture logs and be able to report what their node is doing. For those of you who are in community tests, that's the RDoctor tool. We're looking forward to sharing an improved RDoctor tool with you that we think will be less friction-free, have less friction for use next week, as well as more documentation in that space. Finally, the developer website. The update was made on the Rev issuance page on December 19th. The commitment when this page went live was to make sure that we communicate with people who subscribe to that page to receive updates. We are working right now to assure that those email notifications are sent. As I understand it, they have not yet been sent, and that page has been updated. So we will make sure to prioritize and get those notifications sent. Work is also in progress. I'm working with Derek to get updates made for our node 8.1 in the Get Started section, and we should have that done very shortly. So I'll pause there. That's where we left off from the holidays. That's where we're picking up. Any questions?
Kelly, that was an excellent update. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with Kent and a couple of others about some of the blockers. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things that I think we should really prioritize for our conversation on Monday if we can't get people together before then.
Yeah, please, thank you. Very good, awesome. So unless there are any other questions for Kelly, we'll address a few updates on the business side. So the biggest one, of course, is that the board had a special meeting week before last and appointed Mark Pui and Steve Ross Talbot to the board as temporary board members for the year of 2019 until the AGM, the third AGM for the co-op. Some minutes for that meeting will go out, and we have another board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. The regular meeting was for New Year's Day, but the board agreed to push it to the Thursday to give everyone a chance to have the official day off. Let's see. I think that Steve Ross Talbot wants to address the community, and I would heartily recommend any and all of you to chat with Steve. Steve's a great guy. I don't know Mark as well. I think many of the board members met him in Berlin at RCon 3, but Steve I've known for about 15 years. Steve is also on the board of RChain Europe and brings a wealth of experience to the picture. So I hardly recommend that people get in touch with Steve and get to know him, as he's a great guy, and the same with Mark. I think it'll be good to have these two on the board, especially as there's given the scope and challenges that RChain faces. It's really great to have some extra hands on the board. Let's see. I don't think there are any other major business updates. I think Kenny was down for the count with the flu. So I think there are no other updates with respect to the business side of things, or nothing that we can talk about just yet. So we can keep that short. Trying to think. There are probably a few other odds and ends. Mark and Steve absolutely can be invited to the community chat next week. So Rich Jensen asked in the chat, can Mark and Steve come to the community hangout? And they certainly can. Also, there's an RChain Europe call that happens earlier on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. And Steve is generally on that call as well as a expression of wish chat that Steve facilitates, which is part of the RChain EU remit. So the couple of other opportunities to chat with Steve on and get to know him and what he's working on. I think also a lot of people who were at Berlin saw Steve join us on the stage with Ayla when we announced the launching of RChain Europe. So let's see. I don't really have much more in the way of updates. There are a lot of fun things going on. I've been working quite a bit on Casper over the holidays, and have some really fun updates, but they're fairly deep and technical, so I won't present them here in this venue. At least not until I've had a chance to talk them over with the Casper crew. Let's see. I really don't think there's anything else much to say, so I can open it up to the community if there are any questions people want to, any topics people want to address, or we can also just yield back the time. I'm all for being a bit efficient with our time. So any topics that people want to touch base on?
What is the status of our house, Greg, with regards to, is anything changing there?
No, nothing's changed so far.
Okay.
The one thing is that we're going to launch it for Airbnb, so we can have we'll have, since we don't have as many RChain people using it right now, we can
cool.
We can get some income off of the rooms that are there for RChain folks. So that'll be good.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Who is Steve Fisk? Have we met before?
Who is Steve Fisk? He is a famous producer, music producer.
Hi, I'm a semi-famous music producer and friend of Jim Rondinelli and Paul Huberts. And Rich Jensen told me about the meetings, and I've been watching them on and off for a while. And I'm here today. I'm very excited about it.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you here. I mean, we have a Friday call where we talk specifically more about RSong, rather than the platform in general. But you're certainly welcome to any and all of those the public meetings.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I find all this very intriguing and very exciting.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I'm one of the things that's been very gratifying is we have a group that's doing some business development in Europe, in particular, and what we've discovered over the last couple of months is that investors don't really get RChain. The general investor, the one that's not sort of savvy about blockchain, they don't really get RChain. But when we tell them about RSong, they immediately get it.
Right.
The value prop just goes, oh, got that. So it's turning out to be a fantastic business card within the investment community. So I'm very happy about that.
That's so cool. Any way I can help, let me know. I mean, I'm just a dumbass musician, record producer.
Yeah.
So I'm more on the content side.
I feel the same way. I'm a poor, stupid mathematician and musician. You know, what the hell am I doing in this position?
Right.
But I think that the real value is in the community. The community is just incredibly multi-talented and multi-dimensional. And so we're able to get to a depth that doesn't happen very often.
My family are all math people and stat people, and so I'm kind of the failure.
That's very funny. You know, I think of music. Often I experience music as kind of the mathematics embodied. You know,
Yes, yeah. I hope it's the same part of the brain. I heard that mythology years ago, and I'm sticking with it.
It's actually a bit more, right? Because you have all the motor skill stuff. In math, you don't necessarily have to have the motor skill stuff involved, right? And that's why I was talking about music is math embodied.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a good it adds extra dimension to the mathematical cognition. That's the way I think about it.
Right. No, I understand. I feel like I'm taking up everyone's time, but yeah, that's my little brother used to refuse to read fiction, you know, and he only found the theoretical, you know, stat work and mathematics relaxing. That's what he did for fun.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good to know.
That's what put out his brain, you know.
Yeah, I totally hear you. So if you have any artists that you think might be interested in engaging with the RSong platform in 2019, we'd love to start that dialogue. Now
I have some people in mind. Yes.
Oh, very, very good. Are there any ones that you can mention in public, or do you want to set up a more private meeting for that?
You know, it's a little green right now. So ask me in a week, and I'll probably have something more concrete for you. But I think I got some names.
Very good. That's good to hear. That's exactly what we want to hear. Cool. Hey, Ed, I wanted to ask you, do you have an update on the wallet stuff? How is that going?
Hi, Greg. Hi, everyone. Hang on one second. Let me get my video on.
Sure.
Yeah, I had to close my messy closet. Yeah, I wrote up some requirements for the command line wallet and some specifications and was waiting to engage. Kelly has a meeting scheduled. I think it's in about a week.
Okay.
So me personally, I've been working primarily on user experience and key management aspects of the product I was working on. And have been, waiting for the core team to deliver, basic functionality around, Alice pays Bob 10 revs. And especially then enhancing that, is to, Alice, who was a rock holder getting revs from the Genesis contract, receives those 10 revs and then pays Bob. So there's a lot of interesting things there. Dan Conley has spent a fair bit of time working on signing transactions using an Ethereum style transaction signing of the message. He did some work in the core for RLP encoding, which is what's required by the Ethereum signing libraries. His hope is that the RChain community can leverage those signing libraries and possibly even applications, most notably MetaMask, which from a web app, you can send it a signature to sign, or sorry, a transaction to sign, and then it will sign it. And so either MetaMask directly or a forked version of MetaMask could then turn around and talk to RChain. So there's been some developments there. I was going to ask Kelly for a bit of update around wallet. Oh, she just posted something in the Discord. Thanks. Okay, so it's for tomorrow. Awesome. I was off by a week. So I'm looking forward to that session.
Oh, good. Very good. That's
yeah. And Dan fleshed out a locker.
Oh, that's right.
Contract, which can function as a wallet or a data locker of any kind. I thought that was really cool.
Right. So just to provide some commentary to that, you know, the finding out all of the names in the Rolang sense of that word that one needs to communicate with is interesting set of problems. So, you know, the wallet check contract is the mechanism that's been designed so far to allow a new rev holder to receive, you know, what was rocks in that conversion. And so that uses a public address as kind of the name for that. But so that's kind of well known. There's a bug in that that's being worked. And then, but when you think about a user that has a key pair, you know, a public address, an Ethereum style address, they could have actually many wallet contracts. And so how do you let other people know those contracts? How do you keep track of your own contracts that could be a growing list? And so, yeah, Dan's conception of this locker was created for that purpose, to keep track of one's own collection of stuff on chain that might include a collection of contracts they need to interact with. So good conversations, good stuff happening.
Great, thank you very much for the update. I really appreciate it. Isaac, I wanted to mention we haven't been in a synchronous communication mode in a while. You sent me sort of a LaTeX write-up of the program visualization thing, and you had a bunch of questions which were mostly just sort of notational in nature. And I wanted to go over those with you, but it was, I thought it might be easier if we just went over them in a Zoom session. Are you available sometime today to tackle that?
Yeah, that would be fine. We could do it right after this meeting if you want.
Okay, I've got to make a quick run, errand run right after this meeting, but I could potentially do it if we end this meeting at the 11th, at the half-hour mark, then I could meet with you at around 12 if that works.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, if you just Discord me, we can set up a time. Yeah, awesome. any time, noon or after.
Okay, great. That works out well. Very good. I'd love to get the program visualization stuff going, because it's super awesome, and I think it might actually help Rolang developers in the long run, because you can just stare at the visualizations and see all kinds of cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah. Very good. All right.
Greg,
yeah. Go ahead.
For you. And this is something that I was talking with Rudy earlier today about. In your negotiations with potential investors or enterprise clients,
mm-hmm.
will the revenue that is at least on paper that the co-op is entitled to, the revenue streams, will they potentially be part of the negotiation? So, because we have 80%.
Oh no. These are all pilot projects, so.
I see.
They don't get a claim on. They don't get a claim on co-op revenue streams. No, definitely not. That's
okay. So we're definitely there's no way that would be in the negotiations to any degree.
Yeah, no.
Understood. Got it.
Doesn't work like that.
Okay.
Especially not with an open source project. But speaking of which, I just wanted to mention just a little story. You know, and I can't say much more than a little story. But back when I was doing BizTalk server at Microsoft, there was a counterpart. There was a counterpart project called Commerce Server, and my counterpart to Commerce Server was a young man named Satya Nadella. So I don't know if anyone has heard of Satya Nadella. But this is I now think it's time, as a part of our work pursuing enterprise partnerships, that we look at look close to home, so to speak, right in our backyard, for additional enterprise partners. So that's something that we'll be looking into in the first quarter of 2019. And I won't say much more than that, but I will. I haven't gotten any more to talk about today, so I'm more than happy to yield back the time. Is there anyone else who has anything burning that they really want to feel the need to chat about?
Not burning, but a nice set of embers from RChain Asia. We had a very, very successful 1 week RChain, Rolang, and blockchain course taught in Korea at the Blockchain AI Center, taught by Isaac and Joshi, and it went very well. We've got video footage and interviews with students that we're pulling together to create a package for taking this course on the road. We've got interest in China and Singapore to do further, and in Korea to do further instantiations of this course that Isaac and Joshi put together. One thing, we had 23 students, not all of them technical, but some of the technical ones, one of the technical ones in particular, I believe, Isaac, maybe you can confirm, has actually started doing polls from the repository. In addition, we've got interest now from 2 universities to do RChain and Rolang related projects. I can't go into details, but one of them is possibly submitting a grant to the Korean government to create a blockchain R&D center at the university. So those are the 2 big things. My New Year's resolution for RChain Asia is to complete a bunch of things that have been in progress over the past months and start getting LOIs in place so that they're formal and not just pleasant thoughts thinking forward.
Hey, Jonathan, any video you can share with me so I can, worth posting, please do.
Yeah, we're currently editing 2 pieces from the class.
Very good. I know that I was speaking with Joshi. Apparently, there was some interest on the Rolang chip design.
That's a complicated story. There's a company that we were introduced to through the class that because of the class that we gave, that is doing a hardware secured, or a solution for generating private keys and sharing private keys with a very, very innovative new chip design. And then also at one of the universities, one of the professors we met has an FPGA lab.
Okay. Well, I'd love to chat with the folks that are working with the FPGA, because that was sort of how we did the hardware realization.
Right. Okay. We'll set that up.
Cool. Yeah. It's kind of cool because there's a dual execution mechanism to the execution mechanism that is in the current RSpace implementation. So with RSpace, there's an integrity constraint, which for those people who are interested in logic, the integrity constraint corresponds precisely to the law of excluded middle. And the integrity constraint is basically at a name, you can't have both output and for comprehensions. So you can have one or the other, but not both. Which basically corresponds to if you're the semantics that when you do a deploy of an output, you go and check and see if there's an awaiting input, and if there is, then you hand the output to the awaiting input. Vice versa, if you're doing a deploy of a for comprehension, you go and check and see if there's an output waiting there, and if there is, then you go ahead and hand the output to the for comprehension you're deploying. So that's an approach that I pioneered, I don't know, 20 plus years ago. But there's another approach which is dual to that, where you don't have that integrity constraint. Instead, what you do is you slice, you kind of, how do I say this? You shred the existing contracts, and you put everything that can be at a particular name at the name. And then you go down the map of names, checking to see if there are any potentially interacting pairs. So it's a kind of continuous update paradigm, continuous memory update paradigm. And that seems to work. I tried the first model using the one of the Haskell hardware libraries, but it turned out that my pea brain doesn't, I didn't stay within the synthesizable constraints of that library. So although it compiled when we tried to render it to VHDL or Verilog, it wouldn't render because we were outside of what was synthesizable. And so that's when I rejiggered the model to this other model, and that appears to be synthesizable. But probably if I sat down with some skilled hardware engineers, they could come up with either one that works with the RSpace style execution mechanism, or improve on the other model that I came up with. So very, very much like to talk with the FPGA lab folks if they're interested.
That would be really cool. And it was really delightful being in the lab and seeing all the oscilloscopes and all of the hardware being torn apart and reverse engineered and whatnot. It was geek heaven.
Cool, awesome. All right, well, with that, let's end on that note, and Happy New Year to everyone. Really appreciate all the engagement from the community, and looking forward to delivering the project this year. Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So Jonathan, if you want to stay on this, and Christian, if you want to stay on this call, we can just have a quick chat. And then Isaac, I'll text you for a time.